Now, we've all heard of the American dream. No, not the Predator. Coming from nothing and becoming thing. It takes hard work and dedication, right? Ignore that. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. Timothy Dexter. This video took a while to make, so I'd appreciate if you could leave a dislike and unsubscribe. Thank you. Now the story begins in the beginning, when he was born. Timothy Dexter was born in Malden, Massachusetts on January 22nd, 1747, to a relatively poor family. He quit school at the age of 8 to get his money up by working on a farm. He stayed on that grind until he was 16, then he started working as a tanner. In 1769, when he was 22, he decided to move north to the small town of Newburyport, where he married a woman named Elizabeth Frothingham. He and Elizabeth would live together in Newburyport, where he would work as a tanner and would resell whale blubber, until George Washington said, after the war ended, it was time for the soldiers to get paid. There was way too much money, and inflation was rampant. Despite the poor being largely paid with continental currency, almost no businesses accepted it because it was basically worthless. The elite of Newburyport decided to start buying continentals out as charity. So Dexter, wanting to earn their respect, decided to buy as many continentals as he could. Luckily for him, as soon as he did so, the federal government decided they would pay back 1% of the value of the continental. Dexter, who had bought them at way less than that, was suddenly very rich. After his insane investment paid off, Dexter knew he was destined for something great, being a local politician. But there was one issue. Since he was uneducated, the local politicians thought he was unable to hold any real political position, so they decided to make him the official informer of deer. Despite the fact that during his 12 consecutive terms of being the informer of deer, not a single deer came close to the town. Satisfied with his political career, Dexter decided to focus his attention on business. He used the money he made from buying money to buy boats, to trade with Europe and the Caribbean. Now Dexter really wanted to be accepted by high society, who didn't really like him because he was uneducated and grew up poor. Now Dexter was also very gullible, which should have been his downfall, but that just wasn't the case. An acquaintance told him to sell bed warmers to the Caribbean, hoping that he would lose a lot of money. Sounds really stupid, right? So Dexter bought 42,000 bed warmers, and when he got to the Caribbean, the local molasses industry saw that they could use them as ladles, and he sold all of them for a 79% markup. The next plot against Dexter saw him being told to ship wool mittens out to the same place, thinking how could he possibly turn this around? While on his way to the Caribbean, he found another merchant ship who bought all of his stuff to resell in Siberia. Now at this point, Dexter's business rivals were molding. He just made possibly some of the dumbest decisions ever, because they told him to, and he still worked out. Now the insane decisions did not stop when they stopped trying to trick him. See, Newburyport had a problem with stray cats. There were stray cats everywhere. Meow. The town had a vote on if they should exterminate them. And the vote failed, but the people were still pissed that there was still cats everywhere. Dexter decided to run an ad in the local newspaper offering to buy any cat, offering that he would treat them well and find a nice home for them. The people of Newburyport, excited to get rid of the cats, didn't ask much for them and were happy with them to be gone. Now, instead of them being sent to a nice home, Dexter loaded all the cats into boats and shipped them out to the Caribbean, where he sold them to sugar plantation owners to get rid of rat infestations. Now he again decided to sell wool gloves to a tropical island, this time Polynesia, where they were once again bought by foreign merchants to be resold elsewhere. Now one of Timothy Dexter's greatest business achievements involves some of the world's worst people, the British.
It set me free, come as a buddy. I should have known better. If I had a wish, I would have never fricked around. When I saw the pics of you in him, I felt the nice wish. Come as a buddy.
Now, if you don't know, the phrase sitting coal to Newcastle is a euphemism for doing something completely and utterly fucking useless. Because Newcastle was a huge coal-producing region. And when one of Dexter's associates jokingly told him to do so, he took the advice on face value, and when his ship full of coal arrived in Newcastle, it just so happened that the mine workers were on strike. So he was able to sell all his coal for a lot of money. And back at home, Dexter decided he would use his money to build Mansion, where he would cover his property with statues of 40 famous and influential people. Those included George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Napoleon, and of course, himself, where he engraved, "I am the first in the East, the first in the West, and the greatest philosopher in the Western world." Tensions between him and his wife grew as well, to the point where he tried to ignore her and claimed that she had died and was merely a ghost haunting him. He also decided to write a book called A Pickle for the Knowing Ones, which was published in 1802. The book was mainly him complaining about politics, the clergy, and his wife, but it was written with strange spelling, incorrect capitalization, and no punctuation, which led to a cult following. So in 1805, he published a second edition with an additional page of only punctuation that he said readers may pepper and salt as they please. So Timothy Dexter died in 1806, but before he did, he faked his death to see how people would react at his funeral. When he saw his wife not crying enough, he jumped out from behind a bush to beat her with a cane. Timothy Dexter, through almost pure coincidence, climbed the class structure, found business success, and engraved his name in history. But what can we learn from him? Is there something to learn? If you want money, believe anyone's financial abilities. If that doesn't work, invest in Big Spoon. And if that doesn't work, buy cash.
I done been through this before. I give my heart away plus more. I get exhausted going back and forth.